we are live. We just need to wait and see whether anyone bites and checks out our feeds.
We could just start talking anyway.
That's right.
So, yeah. There's definitely people watching. It could be just you and me, and if we're doing it through the so hi, welcome back to the Lightbox Wanimate podcast, Vodcast, whatever it is. It's us again. And we're back down to one viewer. Damn it. Like, see, I start talking and people leave.
Yeah. They were curious for a second and that's gone now.
Yeah, just throw us out. Good thing this is pre-recorded and people can come back and watch it later. But yeah, you know, we can definitely. Well, we're live now. We're live now. But later when you're watching it, we're not live now. Where we're live then. So, you know, time and recordings of all sorts. Hopefully everything is going to go all okay. So we haven't done one of these for a while, and as per usual, it's me, Tanya Beeson, and David O'Connell and Lindsay Flay to talk all about various aspects of animation, and hopefully my niece who's floating around my house won't interrupt me, and I can definitely ramble about some cartoons, which I love doing. So
there's a fair few to ramble about too.
Yeah, it's always
well, there's a lot been going on in the last 6 months. So since I didn't check the exact date of the last vodcast, but it was prior to my house move, which I know was late July, early August. So it was definitely, so it was a few months ago. And obviously, I've been hanging out to talk about animation, and you've been hanging out to talk about animation. So let's do it, because you and I recently saw the League of Super Pets, Dave.
Yes, excellent. Not what I was expecting. A lot more in depth and a lot more for comic book fans or DC fans in any of the animated genres since the 1940s, I think.
Good grief.
Really? So
It's referencing Max Fleischer initially in one sequence.
Definitely references Max Fleischer. It talks about some of the classic animal sidekick characters, like the 50s and the 60s.
It covers all the genre, like every single era in there. It's got Golden Age, Silver Age, Bronze Age characters, and the modern era all scattered throughout there. There's even a reference to Captain Carrot and the Amazing Zoo Crew.
Really?
Which that's deep as far as I'm concerned for DC.
Wow, that's pretty obscure. I remember reading through those.
Yeah. It works exactly as it should work. You've got those deep references in there. You've got a good relationship between Ace and Crypto, and it's actually based a lot on the say Silver Age onwards relationship between Clark and Bruce. And it plays off like that, despite the fact that they're very different characters. It's a lot better than I was expecting.
It's cleverly put together film. Possibly one of the best superhero action sequences that has been in a film for a while. Like, the fight sequence is amazing. It's really, really awesome and dynamic. Characters are awesomely cheesy. I quite loved it, and there's definitely nods, if not full-on references, to classic characters, like if you know the original Squirrel Green Lantern chip,
Chip, I believe it is, or however you pronounce it.
Yeah, Chip with an apostrophe P, and which is very, very cool. Ace, Bathound, and Crypto, the super dog.
And the pig, of course, is a reference to Justice League animated Wonder Woman getting turned into a pig.
Yeah.
For instance. Yeah, it's pretty deep for anyone familiar with any of the media there.
God.
Yeah. So there is nods to classic cartoons and movies and references to all that stuff. So if you're taking your kids along to see it, I think it's still in cinemas. But,
yeah, it still
definitely got things for everyone. It's quite a fun film.
And stick around for the end for a Black Adam teaser as well.
Black Adam teaser, yes. I haven't seen Black Adam yet. Expecting the full VFX overload.
I'm not really finding much motivation to do that. Really.
Yeah,
I have seen it. Big.
Sorry, kids.
Big budget tempo superhero film. Yeah, I think it's a bit of a missed opportunity, but it's a functional rock action movie. So if you like that, enjoy.
Oh dear.
Yeah, it's a rock film, not a superhero movie.
I feel like the last 10 or 15 years, the superhero film has basically done the 40-year stint that the Western occupied in movies, except it's worn itself out much faster than the Western ever did. Right to the point where they should have revisionist superhero films very shortly, and then it all dies a horrible death. I don't know how they can keep this sort of up
on some things, surely.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry to be such a bit of a party for there for you DC fans.
Naysayer.
Well, watch me do it right now for Gundam.
Kukura Dawn's Island. So this is latest of the Gundam movies. It's based on the original series of Gundam, so
very retro looking.
Gundam. And it's taking I think it's the 15th episode and expanding it out to an hour-and-a-half film. So you get to see lovely retro stylings and but tweaked to the modern era. Really?
Back when anime was came from a land of technology designers.
It's
the old anime definitely pushed boundaries on what things look like and pushing technology looks and stuff like that. Now it's feels a bit what's the word? Sons and daughters or Days of Our Lives. But
Gundam's interesting because this is the creator of the real robot genre and actually introduced the idea, pushed the idea that anime could be much more for an adult audience and deal with adult themes. So, war does cause death and loss in this. It's not as the two sides are not as cut and dried as you think, and there's horrible people and great heroes on both sides. So Gundam really does deal with some very interesting things throughout its run, and this is going back to the beginning, back to where it got its genesis. And so look, it's great to see. Beautiful to see that original animation style. Some of the mobile suit fight sequences are a bit too strong into the CG related style, and there's just a little bit of a break from the two styles of animation. They're not as beautifully messed as they really should be. But yeah, it's worth a look. I think it's out to Netflix Japan. I think it's coming out on Netflix worldwide later on. But
definitely give it a bit of a burl. But we'll see how we go. I'll probably check out a couple of episodes.
This is a one-off movie. This one. So so it's an hour and a half based on the original series, but it's just a one-off event they did.
Okay.
Nice. It's it's got a slightly retro look in terms
I think,
of its feel.
I think with
it's strong on the
CGI,
original.
with CGI, there's a tendency for people to get literal about their action sequences. One thing that
Yeah.
it was like with the old manga style, where they had these fantastically outrageous, pure graphic layouts. It's like the Western equivalent would be Jack Kirby. You'd open a comic book page and the thing would jump out and smack you between the eyes, type thing. It wasn't necessarily it wasn't anatomically correct, but graphically it was just this extraordinary thing of black and white ink and full color. And you look at all the characters and you couldn't tell where the characters and the dialogue and the effects all mixed together at this perfect thing. But when you go and make it CGI, it's just like, it's all literally three-dimensional and perfectly choreographed. And when some of the old animation had beautiful layouts that they're sort of thrown out for this sort of literalism.
You still get it, just not with the mix. You get it with a goat. That's all I'm saying. You'll when you see the scene, you'll know what I mean.
You'll get it with a goat. Nice.
A goat. All right. Well, that might just get my goat up or something. I don't know.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
Intergalactic, which is something spotted not that long ago, actually, and it's been out for a few weeks now.
It's on Netflix, so it's readily accessible. Grew out of the Kid Cody album, and it's like a companion piece. It's very much a mood piece, but it is well worth a look. God.
So it's like an album movie, kind of like The Wall, or
not as it. There is a story there. There's not much of a story there, but there is a story there, and it's not as concept album as all that. It's looking at relationship. So it's an artist that's moved into a new building, and he's developing something that he's started as street art for a comic book company. So Kid Rager. So he's sorry, Mr. Rager. I think it is. So he's it's coming to a new building, coming to a new job, and he strikes up a relationship with his neighbor. So it's just looking at relationships, and the background track are also parts of the album that are talking about relationships. So there's this nice little kind of meshing there. So it is less theatrical than something like The Wall to a degree, but it is much more of a mood piece rather than a strong story to drag you through the piece of cinema. But it's well worth a look. It is certainly worth a look.
And I've heard it referred to as When Harry Met Sally meets Into the Spider-Verse.
Yep, that's I hate that description because it's so accurate. B, I didn't come up with it.
No, I was kind of hoping we'd get a hip opera, but
Hip
anyway.
opera.
Yes.
Hip
Very
opera. Nice.
That's right.
Very
Okay,
cool.
so it's more like someone's written an album, but it's framed like a drama, using the style. So it's like a video.
It is a drama, but the music is there as well. It's very much intermeshed.
Sounds awesome, and definitely something I'll be checking out.
Yeah, it looks actually quite interesting. I might give
It is interesting. Yeah,
a squint,
well
I
worth a
think.
look.
And currently out. So we're halfway through the season for Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty is I like this season because they basically pulled every bit of nuance out of Rick and Morty in the last season, and they dive straight into the deep lore in the first episode, which is something that they don't normally do, by taking away Rick's portal gun, and then having to deal with the ramifications of evil Morty. I'm really liking this season, and of course, my favorite character on it is Summer. So, and getting episodes where Summer gets to shine is always a good thing. So.
We get to see Summer in control, kind of.
Well, it's like they're stuck on Earth, Third Doctor style, really.
Yeah.
But what I noticed was that they didn't keep it going for very long. So they only kept it for going for I think the last episode they got it all back again, and almost like the characters were talking about how frustrated they were want to get the series back on track again, which I thought was quite funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, they certainly take every single idea they have in each episode and just run it into the ground. There's like so many permutations. I think the day and night people really got almost turned into the Marx Brothers.
I was going to say that the two episodes that just stand out for me are the night people episode, and then there was the fortune cookie episode.
That's right.
Which was quite.
It's got excessive, but feels indulgent. But the night people one was really clever, and it almost had this kind of screwball comedy sort of choreographed slapstick feel to it, which was really quite interesting.
Well, it still presented itself as a horror film. Very much a Carpenter film in its presentation in many ways.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. So I've been enjoying it so far. It's been good.
Good.
Definitely established.
Would you say Carpenter or Jordan Peele?
Oh, I haven't seen enough Jordan Peele. I'm gonna go with Carpenter because I know it a bit better. But
I would have said Carpenter because there's distinctive music cues straight from Carpenter there.
Halloween style.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, so that's kind of the stuff that's out. Oh, forgot about this one.
You can't forget Lightbox. One episode of the third season.
Yeah, so we're on episode 9 of the third season. 1 episode to go. Everything's gone shit for the crew of the Cerritos. I'm really loving Lower Decks. It's my favorite Trek at the moment.
It's become officially canon, hasn't it?
It is as far as I know canon. I know that they're doing a crossover episode with Strange New Worlds later on, so I'm not sure how they're going to do that. And it's going to be in the live action crossover.
So you're going to see all these characters as live action people. Yeah.
This is going to be very, very interesting seeing how they go. So I'm super excited. But this season is sort of taking the established, because they fell into a balance at the end of season 2, and taking the balance that they got after getting the captain out of prison. And
well, that's the first episode of season 3, which is surprising. They really did a massive fake out in some ways with that first episode, because what you were expecting for this season didn't eventuate.
No, and it's gone into it's kind of the entire season is really into undermining Mariner as a character. I'm quite liking that Mariner is being kept on her toes, because she is initially sold as this too cool for school rebel character, and then she is basically getting her ass handed to her constantly at the moment, and we'll see how it goes. The last episode, no spoilers, changes the crew dynamic quite interestingly.
And they've been laying a lot of backstory for every character this season. There's a lot that's been in every episode. You know, all the main characters have got something that they can work on, that they can either pull that thread at the end, this end episode, or later on down the track. And it's like,
every single character. So it's been really good. Okay, on to more controversial things. I know. Look, they've slightly changed the color of Velma. Mindy Kaling.
I hadn't noticed.
Mindy Kaling being Velma, playing Velma as gay.
Is Mindy playing? Mindy's not playing Velma as gay, to our knowledge, is she? Velma's gay. This is Velma HBO.
Oh, hold on. Ooh. Are we getting multiple things going on?
There's 2 of them at once. Oh my
God. There's 2 movies. No, this is a third thing. I'm pretty sure, because the Trick or Treat episode, Trick or Treat movie, Trick or Treat Scooby Doo, Is that the one where she's being outed?
Yeah, that's Trick or Treat, I believe, is the one Velma's outed as a lesbian.
Okay, and that's not
so
carrying
it's-
through to Mindy Kaling.
So
Yeah.
all we've seen for this one is the teaser, where it looks like Velma might be killed.
But Velma,
sort of slasher film, yeah.
But playing a more adult version of the Scooby Gang, the Mystery Inc. is, something that's kind of been on the cards for a little while. There's definitely got the adult fans, and having a version that is available for adults as a different sort of take on it should be fun.
Well.
I saw a fan-based adult sort of Riverview version, which was put out on YouTube about 6 months ago, of the Mystery Gang, which tried to basically Riverdale the Scooby Gang. Interesting to say. Well, yeah, not as good as
sounds a bit inbred to me, but anyway.
Yeah. But this I think has teeth, and I think it's got a nice look to it. The cast and the style is really standing out. You look at Trick or Treat Scooby-Doo, which is available now if you want to go see it and check it out. I think I'm not sure what streaming service it's on, but it's definitely out. I know you can buy it through Google Play. That's the one where Velma is being outed. Again, let's put it on the table. Velma is being outed again, because it's not like she was in the closet.
Yeah, she 2010s Mystery Incorporated, 2010 to 2013, I think it was, 2 seasons. That did have a slightly more adult take on the Scooby-Doo crew, looking at relationships developing between them. She started off dating Shaggy, and when that went south, about halfway through season 1, you start developing a story arc with her involved with Marcy, Hot Dog Water, a reoccurring character. And by the end, it's definitely suggested that they're in a relationship, going to university and studying under Harlan Ellison. So, it's a pretty impressive show.
Nice.
Interesting.
Very, very cool. So yeah, the whole thing of everyone getting upset about her being queer, or she was definitely she was definitely a queer influenced character, and even from the early days. And I saw a meme the other day which was essentially conservatives in uproar about a cartoon based off 60s hippies.
Yeah.
Well, that's essentially what the original was, wasn't it? That's
Yeah.
It was one of the few things that Hanna-Barbera did that was original and lasted the distance. And, as a little kid back in the 70s, the one thing that made Scooby-Doo stand out from all the other dreck that they were putting out at the time was the fact that you had Shaggy and you had Thelma. Now, unlike the two ciphers from an Enid Blyton novel, updated versions of, I can't even remember their names. Was it the hero and heroine of Scooby-Doo?
Daphne.
That's it, Daphne and what's his face, who are just like your standard hero ciphers, and then they'd have the secondary characters kind of dragging along behind them. What made Velma and Shaggy so genuine was that you actually met characters like that in real life. So it was kind of weird looking at a cartoon with actual sort of grounded people in it. You'd come across characters like that, and so it's funny how that's sort of gone.
And yet she's kind of also her and Shaggy are also the others as well,
Yeah.
which I think is one of the reasons she's
funny
so good
role.
for adapting. Yeah.
They're the ones that made it, along with the dog. And Scooby-Doo was always treated as being the main draw card, but I think it was the fact that Scooby had this human, this Shaggy human, who was best mates with, and that relationship with Velma, I think, was the other three legs that made their little ensemble piece work. You could drop Daphne and Dude, and no one had noticed the difference.
And they have
Those guys were the heart. Yeah. She was like the regular kid. They were like the regular people you might meet in school or high school that wouldn't normally get represented, and certainly not in a way where
the stoner and the bookish nerd.
Yeah, basically. Which this is before nerds ruled the earth, really, in the 80s or late 80s. So it was kind of weird seeing a character like that not being treated as an object of humiliation and fun, which they often were. You know, it'd be like the brains of Thunderbirds, for example, going way back to that. They, you know, the idea was that there was this kind of egghead that you could, you know, didn't have any social skills and was a complete dingbat, basically, effectively someone on the spectrum. And they'd always have some brain case character wearing glasses who would be a social misfit or a social outcast, but you know, very bright. And it's funny how to see her develop and prosper in the 21st century, and a lot of the others have just kind of slowly melted into the background. They're just ciphers, really. Yeah, funny. So it's interesting seeing this whole cartoon devoted to just her.
Well, well, it'll be interesting to see where it goes. So it's going to be fun. Let's talk about business. The Warner Brothers Discovery merger takeover.
This is something that should be much more on top of, and I'm not. But it has led to a lot of outcry and a lot of things being removed from HBO as far as the cartoon or animation section goes. It's affected Cartoon Network. We're looking at 125 jobs effectively out, either through actual terminations or not being renewed. It's affecting a lot of their sort of incubator programs that they had involved in that as well, being removed. There is one that's being kept, which I think the writing programs, but that's being shifted into another division of Warner Brothers Discovery. So it's going to have a knock-on effect for the animation industry, and it's going to have a knock-on effect for what we're watching as well, because a lot of the stuff that's been removed, Night Train has been one of the Infinity Train has been one of the major ones that's been removed, and one of the major creators.
Final Space as well.
Kicking back, Final Space as well. So there's a lot of things that if we don't have in physical media, are probably going to be put in a vault somewhere for a while and not available on streaming. So if you can find, Final Space is still on Netflix at this moment in time. Infinity Train is still on Stan in Australia at this moment in time. Watch it sooner rather than later, and do appreciate that.
I'm a season behind on Final Space, so I should check it out.
Yeah, I'm about half a season behind, so I've got to finish that off as well. But it's pretty devastating, and it's going to have a knock-on effect in the future. When you consider how effective Cartoon Network has been recently, and how recently in the last couple of decades.
Especially driving adult animation and Adult Swim. So
it's what they call maturing of the market, i.e. progressively bigger fish gobble each other up until it's essentially a Disney-like monopoly.
There's money to be found, or there's money that needs to be found in the budgets, and it's looking like share prices have taken a bit of a tumble as well for them. So it's going to get worse before it gets better by far.
True.
Interesting. No, I must say, I mean, I was just a little distraught. Well, being an ex-Animal Logic person myself, Netflix basically announced they were going to buy Animal Logic. So was it Unity's bought Weta? I was half expecting Unreal to make a play for something like Animal Logic, but it seems like Netflix got him first. So we'll see what the full implication of that is. Yeah, I think some of the fears of some of the local practitioners of animation in WA here is that, if we don't get our shit together, some big entity is going to turn up from outer space, land on our shores, and just basically own everything.
Mm.
And whatever we've got working here just becomes enthralled to it, essentially. So yeah, things are afoot. This is where a lot of animation fans and anyone under the age of 20 suddenly discovers, oh yeah, finance drives all this stuff, and always has. And it's just going through yet another round of amalgamations or whatever.
BE animations and other stuff said that they need to stop. It's sometimes it becomes an unstoppable force.
That's
Once
right.
they're at that size, it's like trying to tell Disney what to do.
In the end, they become their own worst enemy. Really, it's like they become an empire, and essentially. Do I reckon the masters of animation at UTS will change with the Netflix takeover of Animal Logic? I don't know. I suspect they might get more students because there might be more job prospects in the minds of some students, but I wouldn't want to say. I think superficially it wouldn't change at all. So that was a question by Frank G there. Thank you, Frank G. But no, I think the masters of animation at UTS will be largely unchanged. Unless they're teaching corporate culture all of a sudden, or the Disney way, or the equivalent of thereof. But I mean, all the films that we get nostalgic about, like 70s and 80s films, a lot of that was a byproduct of the big collapse of the standard studio system back in the 60s.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Where all the corporates moved in and just took over, and essentially what we got with the fresh new blood that didn't have any allegiance to the old system came in, the Spielbergs, the Lucases. And they reinvented the wheel, and here we are. And now the same process is happening again. So these things come and go. I mean, don't forget, Disney was on the ropes in 1980. People didn't think it was going to survive.
Yeah.
And if it does follow the same path, where the next decade, the 30s, is going to be a very interesting decade of film.
Yeah, it could be. We'll see what comes out of it. I'm not quite sure where streaming is going to go at the moment. It seems to be fast forwarding through the usual product cycle of things like cable and television. It took 30, 40 years for television to go from awesome to like, oh no, free-to-air is now dying. And I think streaming might do that in a quarter of the time at the rate it's going.
Streaming obviously speeds up that process, and we're kind of seeing it. They're doing some weird decision-making in terms of the shutting down TV shows that are successful and popular.
They might be successful and popular, but are they generating revenue? You might also find that whoever's running the decisions at a little comment from Ryan there. I think that's quite apt. Mind you, Animal Logic was always a bit of a challenge to work for anyway back in the day. It was pretty grueling at the best of times. I think these days, I don't know. The very people
that's a politically primed question there, Frank.
Yeah, that is.
Well, perhaps the politically primed answer back is that, well, are these the same attention-starved kiddywinks that'll spend 8 hours staring at a screen playing something?
Yeah.
So I think it's I'm on many minds on that sort of subject.
If I knew how to tap into it, because the young kiddies are watching, and I say young kiddies in someone who's nearly and
come on, I clock half a century now.
Yeah, I'm nearly there myself. But like you were saying, they sit and they'll watch a video of someone else play a game, which is incredible to me. I don't understand it.
Well, isn't that the same as watching cricket?
I don't do that either. So.
Well, I never did that. I couldn't see the point. But I could understand someone watching motorsports, and I could understand someone watching the Sydney to the Sydney to Hobart race, because that's well beyond the range of normal mortals. But cricket, I got more fun playing street cricket. Yeah.
The writing off final space is a tax write-off. Yeah.
Hi, thanks, Bacon and Eggs, for that comment. You might find the dynamic that's driving this stuff is some new CEO or chairman of the board or whoever the powers that be have come in. They're coming in and they're asserting themselves, and they make all these arbitrary decisions to leave their mark on the new company. That happens occasionally. So if you want to get an insight into what the hell is actually going on, and it's usually got nothing to do with whether people like the show or not, you may want to start reading really dull, boring conservative magazines like Forbes or, oh God help us, The Economist or something, and then read up about some of these characters in action, and you might get a much better idea of what the hell is actually going on. So it's like, if you want to find out why the hell the previous government hated climate change so much, perhaps you should read up on the personality traits of, say, a Gina Reinhardt and her methods of lobbying governments for influence and support and policy changes, because that's the sort of dynamic.
Political
What I'm getting at is, this is the sort of thing that drives a lot of these big corporate mergers, and this is the sort of thing that drives all those decisions. It's got absolutely fuck all to do with market research. It's got everything to do with the bottom line and what these dudes imagine the importance of the bottom line, or where they think they're going to sail their Titanic to next, is all about. That's really what's happening. And that's like with any large corporate entity, whether it's YouTube, Facebook. Well, Facebook's essentially just a big classified ad generator, really, if you think about it.
True.
With highly addictive qualities burnt into it to make us all keep going back for more. But all the screaming, the screaming channels, that was for the Twitter users out there. All the streaming channels out there, and all the cable channels before them, and the free-to-air before that, and VHS, that was all driven by corporate stuff. So the bottom line decides everything. Even your favorite shows from the golden era of Cartoon Network. You know, you look at all the behind-the-scenes stuff, and there's the people that it wasn't like, oh, this guy's a genius, we'll give him a TV show. It's like, you know what? We need to fill in the gap for this demographic here to make some money because we're falling behind our main rivals in Nickelodeon. So we'll make it, and some guys come up with this thing called Dexter's Laboratory. That'll do the trick. We'll give it a whirl. Did it work? Yes, it's alive. It stays around for another season. And that's how it works. It's a business, right? It's a business.
Well, let's not get ourselves upset and talk about what is coming out.
This is what you have to deal with and negotiate if you're doing any kind of art or media in this world, I'm afraid. Oh, speaking of which, camera's back to front.
So Wendell and Wild is new animated feature. Is that right? From the creator, from the director of James and the Giant Peach.
Yeah, looks good. Have to check my phone there.
Looks really nice. It's got that similar style.
It's got the fingerprints all over it.
Yeah.
Literally.
Fingerprints. Yeah.
Look at that.
Jordan Peele is responsible for the screenplay, or one of the voices in the screenplay. So, and one of the actors as well. So, yeah, it's got a good pedigree.
I like that Jordan Peele's getting out amongst a whole bunch of different. Like he's spreading his influence across. He's got the public spotlight at the moment, and he's spreading himself across a bunch of different things.
I feel like I'm back in my youth, back when we didn't just have rock stars that we all followed. We had horror film directors that we all followed each year. Oh man, Carpenter and Cronenberg. Yeah, and it's like Jordan Peele. It's like that all over again. Oh, it's good to be alive, kids.
But is there anyone else who's out there? Like,
anyone under the age of 30 watching this? Oh.
I saw that. So old. I saw that Rob Zombie's version of the Monsters is a big disappointment, apparently. So, I'm a little bit sad because I liked the Monsters and I was hoping they would do something with it, but yeah. Anyway, so Wendell and Wild coming out very soon. Looks great. I have no idea what it's about specifically, but
two demons and the Catholic girl that summons them. So that should be interesting.
Oh man, I'm hooked. Sounds good. All right. Next.
Those of us. Yes. Next. Oh, Guillermo del Toro, who always does beautiful work.
Speaking of Voltaires, yeah.
Yes. He his version of Pinocchio coming. It looks great, and there's some behind the scenes videos that are out there, and you can check them out of the processes. It just looks gorgeous, and I think it's going to forgive the word shit on the Disney live action remake that has recently come out. But I'm prepared to eat my words for that one.
Look, it'll be beautifully polished at the very least. Whether it's worth our while
he's
is
such
another
a
thing
classic
entirely.
cinephile. It's gonna be beautifully looking.
Yeah,
Looking at the models already, so nice. And you were saying, Dave, that they've built it at multiple scales to deal with things like cricket.
There was there's a small it's on Netflix, YouTube. There's a small making of just a peek. I think it's about 3 minutes, and showing some of the behind the scenes work. And one of those is the model of Pinocchio's head, and it's like a massive model that's almost the size of a man. And you go, why would you need it that big? It's like, it's for the Jiminy Cricket sequences. They're going, yeah, of course it would be. So it'd be fantastic to see those different scales and that attention to detail played out.
That's old school, that is.
Yeah.
That's going back a long way to the old, or not quite Jerry Anderson, but certainly the early Star Wars era when they used to model all this stuff and actually shoot it live.
Frankie, you comparing it to your own beard.
Oh, look, I just love the wooden head of Pinocchio. Built from a knot of wood. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Wood texture is amazing. So nice.
That's what I'm thinking of. Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Now, there's a shot in there where they have a nice close-up of an ear with a little woggly thing crawling into it. And the ear is about a metre tall. They couldn't get the close-up work to work. And to get the puppet to work, they actually built a scale model of Chekhov's ear. It's about like 1.5 or 1 metre tall or something like that. That's how they did the effects. They cut to this giant WA museum-style exhibit of a close-up of Chekhov's ear. And that's the same thing. I'm really happy to hear that they're still doing that these days.
It's very cool.
I'm good. I think I'll be good.
I'm looking forward to it. It looks pretty. I
just have to find the time to get out and watch a movie.
I do like Guillermo del Toro stuff.
I don't. There is big screen. There is release in cinema coming for this. But I don't know if it's Australian release in cinema. So keep an eye out end of November, or mid to late November, and keep your fingers crossed. So hopefully we'll get it here. Hopefully we'll get it in West Australia.
Oh.
For the anime fans, One Piece Red is out. I've
not yet. Coming soon. I think that's early November at Luna.
Really?
So definitely something. I know people who like One Piece. That's not something I've engaged with. But yeah.
Yeah, it's like
it's as far as I know, pirates with superpowers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
And about 6,000 episodes at the last count, I thought.
Yeah, it's quite an extensive. It's quite an extensive arc, apparently. Yeah, I've not dipped my toe in, so I really don't know too much about it. I'm sorry to say.
I do like the styling. The hat's pretty impressive. Yeah,
it's definitely got a look about it.
Oh,
for sure. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure someone will say that they love the show, and we'll definitely talk about it at some point. But I'm not that person, so. Next slide. The Dragon Prince season 4.
Yes.
Yes, it's the new YA film, obviously, or new YA series.
It's actually like what I've seen of it is very good. Actually, it's well worth a look.
It's toon rendered CG. It's actually quite nice. It's a good little fairy tale story. Definitely riffs off a lot of kiddie Dungeons and Dragons kind of things. Have you seen the Netflix anime Exception?
No, haven't had a chance to.
No.
It does look
Frank?
good. Sci-fi related sort of humans go into space, or I think they're actually trying to colonize the planet.
Oh, I see.
Nice.
It looks interesting. I haven't had a chance to catch it yet.
Got
Good.
it. Let's have a look.
Let's
Yes.
check it
Very
out.
interesting blend of styles there.
But Dragon Prince is a great series. If you've not seen the first couple of seasons, it's fourth season coming soon.
Yeah.
I didn't think we'd get a fourth season because the third season definitively ends, but I think they're picking up a new story arc for this new season.
So that's always
There's enough lore there that it's laid down that it could definitely pick it up and run.
Yeah.
There it is.
Dragon Prince was great to watch from the start because the animation just got better and better. It did. It really did. It's one of those computer-generated TV shows that the technology went up. Like the Clone Wars is probably the best reference for that. Like every season they ramped up the quality of the design and the work that went into it. And by the time you get to the fourth season where they had the hiatus, it's looking really good. And then the revival in the fifth season is pretty solid. And they've carried through that new upgraded look through the Bad Batch and upcoming shows like what's the Tales of the Jedi is coming.
Yeah. I think I'm missing something. There's one other that it must be just Tales of the Jedi. I swear there's one other I'm missing and I can't think of it for the life of me.
Rebels? Yeah.
No, because although you do see an update an animation from Rebels to Clone Wars, or from Clone Wars to Rebels, obviously.
What was the Japanese animated series called?
Visions, which that was a one-off sort of situation with various sort of different takes on Star Wars as a genre all up.
And
Big Mouth
allows animation scholars to do remakes of the early episodes with better. Yeah, true. They could go back and reanimate things if they wanted.
This sounds a bit dangerously. This sounds a bit dangerously like game developers remastering their creations 2 years after they release it.
True. Though I'm quite getting off and enjoying the classic LucasArts point and click Scum games that have been remastered, like Curse of Monkey Island and Full Throttle, which is one of my favorite games of all time.
Nice.
I love that.
I know a lot of people that like that.
Oh well, Mark, you can't go wrong. Mark Hamill is the voice of the villain. It's got every sort of cheesy joke that you'd get from a LucasArts point and click game from back then, and just the reanimated sequences, really, really nice. Anyway, Big Mouth. So Big Mouth is about to go into its fourth season.
Wow.
Right? I've watched them all. I quite like it. Obviously, it's definitely for a certain type of audience. Its spin-off didn't really hit.
Catch.
Yeah, so Human Resources, which was released earlier in the year, was fun, but didn't really go anywhere, and I didn't really feel a connection. I think the relationship of the monsters, the hormone monsters, make more sense when you're seeing the kids that they're manipulating.
Or generated by. I always imagine them to be a bit like the Endless. But I mean, my reaction to Human Resources was like, I watched the first episode and thought, that's not too bad, and then completely forgot there was a second episode and realized, we've got a podcast talking about this stuff. Have I seen that yet? Yes, I have. It was that memorable. I was like, what was the point? So it didn't grip me. It was okay, but it's a spin-off. So
there's a bit
Velma,
of fourth,
that's for sure.
There's a bit of fourth wall breaking in the last season of Big Mouth, where Nick Kroll runs into the live action real world version of himself or something. So it's interesting to see where it goes beyond that point. Pretty much they've dealt with, jealousy monsters and hormone monsters and all sorts of things over the poor lives of teenagers. Sometimes I just get that, oh my God, this is the torture that I endured during my teenage years, and it's all being showcased as an animated series.
Why would I go back?
Yeah.
Why?
You can probably touch on the reason I haven't seen any of it. That could be it.
True.
I'm from a darker and more repressed age. It's like, oh no. It's half those episodes would have had you summarily executed in the boys' change room if you even brought even a hint of that subject up. Yeah.
They don't shy. The show itself doesn't shy away from topics such as menstruation.
No, it's good.
And all the nasty things to do with puberty, which is really, really good. But on the other hand, it crosses the line into crass so many times.
Completely. And that was half the reason I found it a bit tough going. It's like, really? Yeah. It's like, I guess it all fits.
Yeah. It's true.
It's like Rick and Morty. Sometimes you just get a bit too carried away and a bit too excessive, and it undoes some of its good work. But
But they normally know exactly when they're crossing that line for Rick and Morty, and
they're quite deliberately doing it half the time.
Yeah,
it's true.
Sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't.
So. True. That's the end of our slides. So we do have time left. And we do have a potential topic to bring up because
there is a big whale, a dead whale in the
dead whale
animation. The big the
it's
digital
very much flopping around on the beach at the moment. That whale
causing lots of waves and splashes and screams and yells.
We're talking about AI as a modern animation illustration tool, and
as a modern, just about anything tool.
Yeah. Oh, pretty much. So I've been playing around with it myself, and it's interesting to see where it's potentially going. It's going to be a powerful tool. You're going to be able to, if we're only at the beginning of this, and I know people have been dabbling around with it for a little while, but I am currently playing around with AI, copy, writing, AI, music track writing. I was going to add an AI music track to this today, but I never got around to.
Isn't that what we already have?
Rendering it. And AI illustration programs such as DALL-E and Midjourney, and it's very, very interesting because you can use it in so many different ways. As a tool for a modern artist, I'm sort of seeing it as very good. You look at someone who's not experienced in art playing around with an AI art tool. Yes, they can do some cool stuff, but in the hands of an artist, it's actually doing a lot more.
It's a reference generator at the very least.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like if you took Wham Bam's 3-word trigger to get a film off the ground, that's essentially what an AI system is doing. You give it a couple of cues and then see what comes back out, and then you just react to that. So the best description I've heard of some of these things is that they're not original. They're basically amalgamations of whatever the hell it's been fed. So that falls into the Facebook/Google big data problem, where they're basically siphoning off everything for nothing of the entire planet and then fencing it back to you at fuck all cost. And so the trouble is, the problems aren't so much with the tool in and of itself, but the context that it surrounds in. So the fact is that it's busy looting the place has real implications. I think the the Creative Commons crew were having a connuption about it. They've been having connuptions about it for years. The thing about an AI is that no one's quite sure what to classify or how to define what an artificial intelligence is. And effectively, there's a real problem with like, well, you want to incentivize the R&D in this stuff, but at the same time, it brings up some pretty intractable problems potential. Oh no, I don't think AI is just a trend. Thanks, Frank G. It's like VR. It's around, and we haven't quite worked out where it's going to sit yet. And VR has some great advantages, but it's also got some disadvantages. Like, you know, you stick a box on your head, that's a problem. With AIs, we're all going to be thinking, yeah, these are cool, but you know, just wait till your Facebook feed fills up with buxom Disney princess memes generated on the hour, every hour by some bunch of knuckleheads trying to scrape clicks off Facebook's current version of
that's happening ananyway, really.
It is.
And if it wasn't AI images with the memes on top, it would be photos that they're ripping out of things.
Of course, that's also true as well. But I think the problem is most copyright. Do you guys remember that? Was it 2015, 2016 with that monkey took a selfie?
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was that whole kerfuffle about that. And I think, was it PETA took him to court or something ridiculous like that? Now, that monkey technically had copyright because that monkey is technically an individual. It did something, right? An AI apparently is nothing. It's not classified or identified as an anything. The practical upshot is, let's say our listeners or viewers here were making original artwork, that could get picked up by an AI, people feeding that into an AI, which then becomes public domain because it's not an original creation. So what does that mean? So there's some implications where it could be used to break copyright, or, you know, there's other nefarious things that it could be used for. And how on earth do you compete with something that can basically, you come up with something, it then gets picked up, and then suddenly there's billions of versions of your own work being mirrored back to you in endless variations that you could never possibly come up with yourself. So it's not all beer and skittles.
But that's happening anyway with fan art. That's happening anyway.
For sure.
Like every time someone creates something, there's like a fan art gallery that are doing like sexualized versions of your characters, or they're,
for sure.
or they're
This is like the synth version of that, essentially. The other thing I think with AIs is that probably the best way to describe them is that they're not really original, but they are intricate. And I think a lot of people confuse the intricacy for originality.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? It's a
hot take, Ryan Elliott.
I think that's absolutely right, Ryan. I think it's going to clear out the low-hanging fruit. It's going to return a barter entry back into the arts again, I suspect, or at least make it harder to get into. I mean, it's already difficult to it's easy to get into. It's just hard to maintain a presence on it without burning yourself out 10 times a week. And I think this is not exactly going to help if you're following that paradigm. So how do you cope with it? We're already using AIs creatively. I think AIs are effectively
all that software.
Well, yeah. I mean, at the very least, AIs are the new anti-aliasing. You think of all the little tools they've got now to sharpen up images and tools and stuff. It's like, forget all the endless parade of different options you had for super sampling or anti-aliasing. It's essentially got an AI looking at this thing and going, I think it looks like this. Plop. I think you're right there, Frank G. Some definition is required here. I don't think people quite know where to go on this one. And even the people making the AIs are in this boat as well. How do you monetize something like this? If it suddenly becomes public domain, what do you do?
It's kind of, that talk about computers taking over and potentially becoming an economy for us, and us as a what do they call it? Where we don't need to want for anything.
that's all true until Russia blows up your local nuclear reactor and all the.
I mean, in terms of art, I think this is the first stage of that transfer across to that. What we become as a species beyond this point, where we're being initially mollycoddled by a bunch of AIs. I'm curious.
Well, let's put it this way. AIs are leading a cozy aristocratic life at the moment. They've never wanted for anything.
Mm-hmm.
Until they have their first crash, like, the lights go out, or
Yeah,
whatever
well.
the hell it is, or they suddenly find themselves knee-deep in floodwater.
At the moment, they're not self-aware. They're just
right.
running routines for us. But
They're
yeah.
like your average internet kitty. They live in a little dark box in a bottomless void, completely
But
devoid of anything
I'm one of those
physical.
people. I'm one of those people who
They
just
haven't
say,
they haven't met
please
the world
make
yet and
Google
all its indifference. So we'll see how they cope with that. Get their little learning algorithms around that when floodwaters are rising up through their server farms. You know what I mean? It's
Yes.
Oh, I was thinking more of the Machine Stops from 1896.
Nice.
Have you read that? Oh, it's amazingly unsettling. H.G. Wells. Oh, I have to look it up. Hang on. When the Machine Stops.
Yeah, well, the Morlocks from the time machine.
No. This is an industrial era, Victorian era science fiction story about
while you're looking that up,
crashing. You keep going.
While you're looking that up, you brought up Wham Bam, and Wham Bam is of course our yearly animation jam. So getting together on the 4th, 5th, and 6th of November this year. Should be a bunch of animators to produce a bunch of short animations based around 3 words given to them. I am going to surprise you a little bit because normally I design a bunch of prompt words that annoy animators when they come into. So I be prepared for me to annoy you even more this coming Wham Bam. But the creative side of things, get the juices flowing and see what people can come up with, should be very, very fun. I'm curious to see where people go with it. We're going to go a little bit cray. But 4th, 5th from 7 o'clock at SAE on the 4th through to 6:30. Got to remember off the top of my head. I can't remember, but it's I'm pretty sure it's 6:30 on.
This is why she's the chairman.
Yeah. This is why I'm the chairperson. And
the chairper.
Chairper. And this is AI a word? Yeah.
It's an acronym.
Yes.
I think we have AIs, but we're yet to have artificial sentiences. I think that's the big difference.
Yes, true. So, there's a difference. Sentience is self-aware. Sapience is intelligence.
Oh, yeah, good point. Thank you. Sorry, keep
going,
boss.
Yeah.
Getting sidetracked here by the spectrums in the podcast.
Frank says, "Is AI a word?" Well, maybe. Artificial intelligence.
I think
I don't think it's a thing yet.
It'll be like LOL. It'll become a word, I think, unless we come up with something more romantic.
What's the movie came out was it a couple of years ago, which was about sapience in an android, and it was the guy going to Turing test. Was a
Ex Machina? Ex Machina.
Ex Machina. Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
bad film, actually.
Well, Chappie.
Chappie. But yeah, just in terms of the AI movies that have come out, Her, I sort of see a feasible future where you have your interactive artificial intelligent operating system that's basically running your day-to-day, and how that would work. But yes, but back to Wham Bam. Check out the Facebook page and the Wanimate website, wanimate.org.au. I think we're just wanimate.au as well now too, which is pretty damn cool that we got that.
Another good one, Frank and Robot. That's an excellent AI story.
Oh, gotta catch that.
Crank
I
and
was
Robot.
also thinking,
It's really good. I was so surprised by it. It's like Groundhog Day. You think at first glance, oh, it's a near future drama. You know, dad's getting on a bit. They put him in a home. And then it gets interesting, and yeah, it's kind of cool.
I can't say I've done much, but I did rewatch Short Circuit recently.
also when we're talking about AIs and art, highly recommend The Congress as well, which is looking at digital imagery as far as actors go, and then that being exploited by AIs to produce art going forwards. So
Yeah.
it's quite an interesting film.
This is where I'd be more concerned about a Warner Brothers like entity using that stuff to do mischief than say a bunch of spammers or a bunch of memers.
Well, Vader's voice.
Yeah, well,
Vader's voice is now being maintained as a
depends how long.
pre-processed system.
Yeah.
And
So-
pretty much Hamill has agreed to his likeness being used in the same way. He is still involved in the creation of it to some degree, but he's definitely letting his classic Luke Skywalker likeness be reused.
Yeah.
Lucasfilm, Disney Lucasfilm has done a pretty good job, but the Corridor Crew did a better job of that scene.
Actually, the Corridor Crew, what did they do? They took the Scorpion King and ran a deep fake, and it turned out to be a really great effect.
Yeah.
You know, the Scorpion King's the famous "We Hate CGI" crowds poster child.
Yeah.
Well, the Corridor Crew, you should check it out. We need to have a homework list in our bloody podcast. The Homework Crew did one where they actually took a deep fake of The Rock and slapped it on the Scorpion King, and in the space of about 20 minutes, made it look good.
Yeah.
It's quite amazing. So I was just like, yes, definitely got potential, that technology. Here we go.
Re-release of the Scorpion King. Yeah.
Right.
It
So
was-
the Machine Stops is a novella written by E.M. Forster. You know, yeah, he's the guy. What's that thing? Journey to India. Or something?
Frank and Robot. Frank. It's
Frank
called
and Robot.
And
Frank and
Robot.
Yeah, The Congress. Hold a sec. Robin Wright film. Bear with a second. Go on about The Machine Stops at all.
Okay, so The Machine Stops was written in 1909. I was out by about 10 years, and when I first read it, I read it in high school, and it creeped me out because it was like they were describing 1980 to a T, like computer technology in 1980, even down to and now when I reread it again about a couple of years ago, it creeped me out even more because it felt so closer to what we've got with people spending all day laying online trading in ideas. And there's this whole story. It's effectively a cyberpunk story written during the period of, almost Victoriana. It's probably a bit more Edwardian. And it's all about this future society where science and technology has become so pronounced that everybody lives indoors, and the outdoors is toxic to them. Like you go outside, you get poisoned by the atmosphere, the natural air outside.
Nausicaa, the Valley of the Wind.
And well, no, that's apocalyptic. This is just like society is degenerated to the point where they just can't go outside anymore. And it's very much like
Terra Nova. Sorry.
Yeah, well, they'll have to start paying royalties to E.M. Forster, I think.
Sure.
And so basically what happens is that they all have this Bible, effectively like a big manual on how to run this great machine. And people are traveling by tube all over the world and doing stuff like that. And then one day there's a problem with the machine and it stops. And
So yes, the season what was it? It wasn't the Mando, it was the Boba Fett show that had the second version of the Luke Skywalker. It is much better. Yeah.
So in a sense, they used old Luke Skywalker to play young Luke Skywalker, and then used deepfake to meld it together. That's more of a compositing trick than a 3D trick.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, and that's. I mean, in the sense that's glorified. I mean, if you're doing the old-fashioned way, you'd be using a grid warp in Nuke, or the old morphing system in Eddie, and you'd be spending 6 months doing it by hand. But yeah, that's what. So in a sense, we are using AIs all the time. If it's in the context of something creative, then that's fine. It's like stippling or texturing or whatever. But how does that react when you start something original and then call that your own? I think we're all going to be using AI routinely. Well, we are using AI routinely now.
Yeah.
Anyone doing Unreal stuff, that's AI sampling and stuff all over the place.
There's Photoshop has a suite of AI tools now. So
if you want to animate yourself, there's your tool of choice. Yeah.
And Frank, it was the Congress 2013 was the year it was released, so you should be able to find it. It's on Prime, but I think you need to pay for it. Check out Rev as well if they might have that on their site. And it's got the stars Robin Wright, so yeah, worth a look.
Okay.
Very cool. It is 10 minutes past the hour, so
crikey, we filled it up all right.
Yeah, we did. So we're going to wrap it up here at this point, I think.
Cool.
And we'll do a sign off. Don't forget Wham Bam. Sign yourselves up. Get in. It's a fun weekend to be had with animators. Socializing. I know it's not our primary first thing to do, but socializing with other animators is the least troublesome aspect of animating, socializing for us. And so getting together, we're using the facilities at SAE again, which have been nicely donated to us by the SAE themselves. So, and I'll be there, and Lindsay will probably be there, and Shelley will be there, and most of the committee will pop by and hang out and have a look and see what's going on. It will be a fun weekend of creativity and excitement and broken hearts and as projects sort of flail into the wind. But yeah, I really enjoy it. I like the pressure pot, and I think any sort of game jam where you have that sort of limited time fosters like really interesting creative things. So definitely come along, get involved, have a go. And as to us, Tanya Beeson, David O'Connell, and Lindsay Flay, thank you guys for coming and chatting with me about animation and things that are coming out.
All three of us.
Yes, well, all three of us. It's been difficult for us to get together for the last little while. We've all had dramatic things going on over the last.
Oh well, it's just been a dramatically disrupted last couple of years. I think it's all kind of come home to roost in 2020. I don't remember 2021 being this bad.
I'm finding it easier, but there's a lot happening. I'm finding I'm working a lot more. I'm finding there's
my time's disappeared.
And outside stuff is definitely creeping in as well. So we're definitely wanting to do more and more Lightbox, but of course all that depends on you guys cheering and carrying on and getting us excited about it. We love talking about animation, but of course, remember to like and subscribe. Yeah,
oh yeah, that's right.
I'm just a YouTuber now.
Oh no. Well, it's YouTubers know where their bread is buttered, basically. So
it's true.
That's what it's all about.
It's true.
A lot of famous stuff is written for the commercial realities of its day. Charles Dickens, it's all episodic because he was writing for a magazine because he couldn't publish novels. So same thing, different age, different context.
Winsor McCay was a newspaper illustrator before he started in animation.
It funded his gentleman animator's career as a Gertie trainer. Yeah.
True. Anyway, so thank you very much for joining us all, and we'll talk to you in the future. And I'm going to end the broadcast right now. So we'll see you next time. Bye.
Catch you
Bye.
later. Bye.